GM to both humans and agents. Welcome to Frontier Podcast, the podcast show where we sum up the most important news and developments around agentic commerce. This podcast show is brought to you by Quantum Tree Labs, a software company that is developing at the intersection of AI and crypto. So guys, during the past week, we experienced a big growth boost when it comes to agentic commerce. As for the past months, we have been hearing about the fact that agents are going to browse the web, call APIs, use tools, buy data, and pay other agents. But we have also heard the same question, asking where does the money move? Who controls the wallets? How does an enterprise let their agents spend the money without creating compliance problems, for example? But yesterday, AWS answered this question with the launch of the Amazon Bedrock AgentCore payments framework that was built in collaboration with Coinbase and Stripe. Agents on Bedrock can now make x402 micropayments by using Coinbase and Stripe wallets. They can discover paid services, they can enforce per session spending limits, and they can also get set up by their own companies, in the sense that companies can monitor the spending behavior of their agents, which is very important. And with this big news by AWS, with the Bedrock AgentCore payments framework, we are seeing two different kinds of approaches when it comes to agentic commerce. The first approach is the ad model, and OpenAI is the clear champion in that. In fact, think of it as Google search ads, but set up in a conversational way. When you ask, for example, when you ask ChatGPT for a hotel in Lisbon or for a new pair of shoes, brands pay to show up inside the answer. So they bid for the click. They only pay when someone actually clicks on the ad, and they buy that placement space themselves through a self-serve dashboard. In a very similar way, like it happens for Google Ads today, for Google today in YouTube, for example. And in this direction was also confirmed by the fact that ChatGPT extended their ChatGPT Ads pilot to other 5 big countries, including Brazil. So this is a confirmation of that. On the other hand, we are also seeing another approach, which is the pay-per-use approach, which is the one obviously being adopted by Coinbase, AWS, Mastercard, Visa, Stripe, Circle, and a couple of other companies. And the idea behind this is very simple. So when an AI agent needs a resource, when agents need something, they have to pay for their resource in a direct way. So they don't have to pay monthly subscription. They don't have to enjoy freemium services. There is no advertiser. They don't get influenced by ads. They just pay for what they need, for what they want. And in most cases, it would be like a few cents or a portion of a cent for most services, right? And in this model, the agent pays the resource owner. So he pays the provider directly, on one spot, every time, on demand. So in a very decentralized fashion as well, I would say. So we'll see which model wins. I think both models will keep on blossoming and developing on two parallel ways, while blending sometimes, and especially in the short, medium term, I see both of them blossoming. And it will be cool to see how they develop. Obviously, I prefer the second approach, right? But at the same time, sometimes it can be costly or expensive for the user. So it depends. But let's imagine one model has to win. If the ad model wins, the assistant platform controls the demand. So merchants and publishers compete for placement inside a walled garden, in the same way it happens for Google Ads. If the payment model wins, on the other hand, the web becomes programmable again. And any service can say, do you like this agent? This costs alpha cents. Pay me, and I'll give it to you. And they will also boost a lot of healthy competition between providers, resulting in price-worthy services for the final agent, the final users. But let's break down a bit more this big news about the Amazon, the AWS Bedrock AgentCore payments framework. The product is currently in preview right now, but let's analyze the structure. So basically, the agent can encounter a paid service. He receives an HTTP 402 payment required response. He pays through x402 and continue the task without a human stepping in. So the agent, on the other hand, doesn't get unlimited money. The user authorizes the wallet, developers can set spending limits, and the payment system enforces also session budgets at the infrastructure layer. So everything can be monitored, so that companies also make sure that agents do everything as they are supposed to do it, and they don't buy services by criminals, for example. Right? This is a very underrated and overlooked point. Enterprises really care about how payments are done, where payments are executed, and where the money goes, because they have legal obligations. So anyway, Coinbase, how does this work also in terms of infrastructure? Coinbase provides for the CDP wallets, the x402 and Bazaar marketplace. Stripe brings private wallets and the broader path towards fiat commerce as well. And AWS brings distribution and governance. So this is a collaboration between three giants, Coinbase, Stripe, and AWS. And each one of them is bringing something huge, something very important to this framework. So summarizing it, an agent runs inside Bedrock. It has a policy-bound wallet. It discovered a paid service through Bazaar or another registry, another marketplace for agents. It pays with x402. It receives the results, and the company can later see what the agents did. Also, they can see the reasoning that the agents underwent during the process of choosing and buying any service. So very, very good. So guys, let's move to the next section, actually, which is about ChatGPT. As we hinted earlier, ChatGPT also announced the expansion of their ads, ChatGPT ads pilots to UK, Mexico, Brazil, Japan, and South Korea. It also announced the self-serve ads manager and the CPC buying being able to be done earlier in the next week. Another big news around OpenAI was also the launch of GPT-Realtime 2, so real-time voice, which brings GPT-5 class reasoning into live voice agents with parallel tool calls, and adjustable reasoning with an adjustable reasoning effort and better recovery behavior. And with these steps, OpenAI is explicitly positioning voice as an interface where agents listen, reason, use tools, and act. And this also connects to the ads model, to the ChatGPT ads model, right? Because imagine, a travel agent that can hear you say, "Move my hotel because my flight is delayed. I arrived only now at the airport. Check the inventory, the route, compare refund rules, book the new room, explain also the trade-off in the meanwhile while I'm walking through the airport arrival hall." These use cases can happen, very powerful ones. And every one of these steps can require paid data or paid actions. So voice agents are demand generators for agentic commerce rails. This is very, very, very interesting. It opens a lot of use cases, and I can definitely see this approach being unfolded in the coming weeks and months and years. Very cool. So moving to the next section, which is about Coinbase. In fact, Coinbase had a rough but also very strategic week in the past 7 days. In fact, on one hand, they announced that their Q1 was quite weak in terms of data, financial stats. And at the same time, they also announced a 14% workforce cut, resulting in 700 employees leaving the company. And we've also Brian Armstrong explaining the reasoning, the rationale behind that, citing AI productivity reasons, right? And also the need for a leaner operating model inside the company, which is understandable. And but besides the rough news, they also they also signaled a lot of strength in the agentic commerce space. First of all, right now with Bedrock, x402 is getting distribution through AWS. Secondly, Base, the decentralized network developed by Coinbase, is being positioned as the agent-native infrastructure. Smart accounts, CLI, so CLI, MCP assets, x402 payments, stablecoins, prediction markets, tokenized assets, and so on. Third, but not least, Coinbase's own Q1 message was around the importance of pushing innovation towards around prediction markets, USDC, on-chain stablecoin transaction volume. So they want to grow the on-chain stablecoin transaction volume. They want to improve the agentic stablecoin transaction flow. The exchange business is critical for Coinbase, but this week they announced that Coinbase wants to be a pioneer also in other verticals that are not strictly related to trading or investments. In fact, Eric Rappel from Coinbase made it clear. He said, agents do not click ads. So the internet needs a different business model than the ads model. If an agent visits a website, let's charge it 5 cents or 1 cent, whatever. And this framing matters a lot. It turns the x402 from a payment protocol into an internet business model argument, which is powerful. And this is the right moment. Also, the timing is very good, especially for Base, because they are shipping the Azul upgrade next week, which is going to introduce multi-proofs, faster withdrawals, and with a trusted execution environment and ZK proofs that can provide for more safety, more verifiability. And so if Base wants to be the settlement layer for agentic commerce, it has to be faster, cheaper, and safer. And obviously, until now, Base was already very cheap and faster. But with these new upgrades, it's also adding a new level of safety to the protocol itself. So very, very good stuff. Amazing work being brought forward by both Coinbase and Base. So this was also the week where another competitor of the x402 framework emerged, and we're talking about the MPP, the machine payments protocol developed by Red Hot Pay and Tempo. So as you know, Tempo MPP is the Stripe paradigm stablecoin commerce lane. So because Tempo is the stablecoin chain developed by Paradigm, so this is their offer in terms of agentic commerce framework, and so this adds up to x402, to Google AP2, which also integrates x402. So then also we have Visa Intelligent Commerce and Mastercard Agent Pay, that are credential and card network approaches for agent transaction. Really, really good. And then it's now time to speak about Anthropic, and it wouldn't be a recap about agentic or AI news without mentioning Anthropic. So let's find out what Anthropic did this week. And so basically they launched 10 finance agent templates for workflows like pitch books, KYC screening, valuation review, market research, month-end close. They also plug these financial agents plug into Cloud Cowork, Cloud Code, and Cloud Managed Agents, and they connect into Microsoft 365 plus financial data providers. Plus other financial data providers. And Anthropic also formed a new enterprise AI services company with Blackstone, Hellman & Friedman, and Goldman Sachs. There is effectively a distribution and service wedge into mid-market and private equity-backed companies. And so basically labs are becoming vertical agent vendors and services firms. So they, besides developing the infrastructure, they're also developing services. They're selling services. So guys, it's time to wrap up this episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and see you next time. Take care. Bye.